topic for today's live session is about decoding dyslexia. And as October is the Dyslexia Awareness Month, a lot of people and organizations are talking about dyslexia awareness and trying to do their bit. So I would like to contribute to that cause about beginning my first session with about what exactly is dyslexia and how can parents be uh, contributing to the development of their children, as well as how they can identify some uh, issues with their children which could lead to dyslexia. So yeah, let me begin with my first part of the discussion. What exactly is dyslexia? So dyslexia is basically one of the many other learning disabilities also. It is a challenge with reading accurately and fluently. Mainly, it is the challenge why how children start to learn to read and then they keep on struggling with reading, spelling, and writing. So that's our children who have dyslexia may also have some challenges with their spellings, reading comprehension, as well as writing part. So, and we also know that dyslexia is also known as hidden handicap because there are no visible signs of any sort in our children. So, how does dyslexia manifest itself in the school-going children? Or so dyslexia, the children with dyslexia may show some confusion in the letters and alphabets, letters of the alphabet, like they will have some reading confusion with letters B and D, P and Q, N and U, as well as there is a big confusion in the vowel sounds, especially in the A and E vowel. Also, they may be reading the words incorrectly, like dog becomes God, bed becomes Deb. Also, sometimes the sight words they read or spell are incorrect, like was will become saw, for becomes off. Then you is often confused with your, from with off, the might become het, so there are different aspects of their spellings and reading challenges. Their handwriting may be illegible, they may be there, and especially when they start to make showing their spelling errors, their spellings could be inconsistent. Sometimes FOR will become for, or sometimes it will be ROF. The words may not be in the same order, and they might show different signs of reading challenges also. So, no two children with dyslexia will have the similar signs and symptoms. So, but what causes dyslexia? How is it caused? So, often it has been seen that dyslexia runs in family. Scientists are trying to do their research that what gene could be responsible for dyslexia, but they haven't gotten any success so far. But the main cause, what we understand when what we see, what we feel, that it's a neurobiological processing issue. How the information being received by a human brain is being processed. Our brain receives the information from our environment through our eyes, ears, and other sensory inputs. So, how this information being received by our brain through different sensory channels gets processed makes it a little challenging for our children to deal with the language areas. So mainly dyslexia is the language communication problem. So the language portion of the brain, how that area processes the information being received from different sensory channels, how our auditory channel, how our visual channel receives it and processes that information, there is a challenge. There is no challenge with the structure of the brain as such, but the functional aspect could be a reason. So, also, often we have seen that there is no connection between the learning disabilities or dyslexia with the intellectual capacities of a human being. So there is no intellectual problem, but still, then it correlates to the processing part. There is no challenge with the vision or the auditory, the children have the regular normal vision as well as normal hearing uh, property or the hearing power as such. But there is a challenge how this information being received by the child's brain is processed. Also, sometimes we have seen that there is a concept of twice exceptional. Some children who show us the gifted and talented capacities may have some dyslexia also. So so as I said, there will be no two children with same signs and symptoms. Say, and their abilities and abilities and skill sets are varying a lot. Also, so uh, so there is no connection between the intellectual capacities and the dyslexia. There is no limitation in the intelligence level. The kids are bright, smart, and often they are creative. So sometimes some of the dyslexic students will be showing us signs of great artists, be it music, painting, and any other form of art. They may be good three-dimensional thinkers. They may be good at mechanics. They may be good at building things. So also, some of the famous personalities, artistic people have struggled as a child, as children with dyslexia. For example, Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg had dyslexia, and as well as some other like Cher, our singer, had dyslexia. So how do they? And more so, there are no gender differences also in dyslexia. So the science has not shown us any difference that the boys or girls will have differences though in dyslexia. So, but I don't know what is the reason behind that. But more and more boys get diagnosed with dyslexia or any other learning disabilities. But there is no scientific connection between the gender differences for the incidence of learning disabilities or dyslexia. At any given point of time, almost 15% of the school going children will have dyslexia or any sorts of other learning disability. If we don't address this issue early on, there will be a challenge. And as it is, there is lots and lots of research showing that kids who do not get the right kind of help beyond third or fourth grades, their reading challenges will be hampering their learning in the other areas. Also, as our school system, education system relies a lot on reading for any sort of learning. So, how do the parents come to know that their children are showing some signs of learning disabilities, or what could be they looking for as early signs and symptoms for children with learning disabilities, or they who could have potential dyslexia, potentially they can develop dyslexia at a later age. So as all people and all the research shows, the earlier we identify the challenges, it's better to give the early intervention, and preventive measures are always better than the curative measures later on. So as parents, in the preschool stage, when the children start as young as 2.5 years, 3 years of age, there could be some signs and symptoms which we as parents or the caregivers in the early childhood education centers or the preschools, we can be aware of, and we can pay attention to some of the red flags as such. The children, sometimes the first and foremost most important aspect which we need to pay attention is that children who start to speak late, their speech is delayed, is the biggest um, indicator for there could be some developmental delays or delays in their language acquisition. It could be expressive speech or receptive speech also. They might not follow the instructions. That's the first and foremost indicator. Further, sometimes we see that the kids cannot sit still at one spot or on a chair. They are very fidgety. They may be moving from one place to the other very frequently. They might be tapping with their hands on the table like tuck 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 tuck, or on their knees tuck 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 tuck. They're always on the move, or they may be doing some sort of tapping with the pencil, like this kind of a movement or a sound. So this is one of the movement or the signs which could be an early indicator. And Also, um, they may be constantly touching their neighbors, their sitting posture may be challenged, they may be impulsive, and they may not be seen to be following any instructions from their parents or directions. And they may also ask you to repeat the instructions often. They may be accident prone, or they may be falling too often, or the things keep on falling from their backpacks or their water bottle. They keep on missing out their things, so they can't tie their shoelaces at times. They cannot undress themselves or dress themselves or button their shirts or pants or trousers, or they cannot distinguish between left and their right. The directional confusion is very profound at times. So these are a part of developmental process, the developmental stages, but we cannot say that all children go through these developmental stages, but all children will not be there with early warning signals. But if these any of these type of signals are there for a persistent period of time, and the kids are making similar kind of errors, or these signs and symptoms stay there for a very long time, our antenna should be alert. So what as parents can we do to resolve these issues? So if there is a doubt in our mind, we definitely should take an expert opinion. First step will be to reach out to our regular pediatricians, and if there is a need, if there is a red flag given by our pediatrician, we should be definitely going to the developmental pediatrician. If and we should get our children's vision checked up, as well as hearing checked up, to rule out any sorts of ear infections, so that their auditory component becomes free and they are in a position to listen to your instructions and directions and enjoy the environmental sounds around them. So that is the first and foremost thing for us to do. So now, further, how do we move ahead? The rule by if but as a healthy family, we need to give our children some exposure to outdoor play time, healthy and a nutritious diet, as well as so in that regard, I am in favor of going on a family outings very often, so that the kids get a good time with their families to spend for socio-emotional well-being. Children need to get a lot of time to physically like channelize their energies. They need to be out in the play areas, parks, free play, active physical activities like cycling, skateboarding, or jumping, running, playing with clay, playing with sand, as well as playing on the swings with their friends, of course. Whenever they are playing with their friends, it gives them an opportunity to interact with them, build their social skills, emotional skills, as well as their expression, their language. They are listening to other children talk. They are talking to them. They are expressing their feelings. They are building their vocabulary. They are building their language, which is a very very important aspect for children to get an exposure to and learn from their peer group. Another area is when they're indoors or in a classroom situation, in a preschool setting, we need to give them a lot of exposure to activities like for their eye-hand coordination, building the Legos, lacing activities, threading activities, beading activities, and also working on puzzles to build problem solving and critical thinking skills, as well as visualization. How, what part of the puzzle will be fitting here in this area, or what goes in that puzzle and the block piece. They need to play with blocks, building blocks, Legos, hopscotch, as well as toys like Jenga towers, as well as some board games where they will be playing with some other team members, other kids, to build to they will learn to wait for their turns, as well as strategically plan this next move, what they need to do. So uh, as well as then they need to get some exposure to the screen time also, to watch television or play some video games. I don't say that they don't need this time, but there has to be a proper kind of a balance between the outdoor activities and the family time and the screen time. Often I've seen that the family dinner time, which is very very important, when the families eat their meals together, they will talk to each other, They'll share their feelings, how their day went. They understand each other. They will have a healthy eating habits. Well, they will be building their healthy eating habits. So that's also very, very important to have a good time with the family also. So yeah, so these are some of the things what I wanted to share with you. I am hoping that I can continue with this kind of a discussion with you and my friends. So Empower Kids is trying to work on and build an awareness and sensitization for the parents as well as for the teachers in the community to help our students uh, to come out of their struggles and be lifelong learners. There is a strong connection between eyes, bodies, and ears, so that they are these integral part of our body help our children to learn as well as develop their skills and work as preventive. These skills are when we work with our children, so these will become the preventive things, activities, and skill sets, so that they don't their learning limitations are minimalized. As we know, dyslexia could be is not like it will never go away, but we have to train our children and we have to give them some coping skills to live with that, and it should not become a hindrance in their lives. I hope this made some sense, and this is of some use for all the people who are listening, or they may be listening the recording of this whole program or this session. So this is, and once again I will repeat that I'm Anupama Sethi from Empower Kids. We are based in San Jose, California, and we are providing services for children who are struggling in schools, be it in the area of cognitive skill development as well as remedial education. Thank you so much. Bye bye.